What's up, guys? Another video from ayahuascaeasy.com. In this one, I want to talk about examples of intentions to use in an ayahuasca ceremony. And I'm also going to talk about how you can, if you don't have specific intentions already that you want to work on, how you might be able to go about sort of figuring out what those might need to be for you. But also I'm going to talk about how to go into a ceremony with a sort of a generic catch-all intention that still gives you an intention to go into ceremony with, but doesn't necessarily mean that you have to sort of know exactly that what you want to work on. So yeah, let's get into it. First of all, I probably will just start by saying that intentions in an ayahuasca ceremony can be really important. I think I have always gone into ceremony with some sort of intention, even if it is the generic sort of catch-all one, which I'll talk about soon. And an intention, if for those of you who don't know, an intention in an ayahuasca ceremony is a concept or an idea or a particular thing that you want to focus on in that ceremony. So I'm going to run through some of the specific ones that I've used before. So let's start there. So these first ones, the first one here you can see is changing cerebral pathways. The second one is investigating other people's problems and helping them. The third one is being able to focus more on tasks. And the fourth one there is low back issues. That is my actual spine I'm talking about there. I'm going to get a little bit more into detail into all four of these, but first of all, I just wanted to say that the reason why I'm going through these four specific intentions is to let you know that you can be super specific with the intentions that you have for a ceremony. You don't have to sort of, if there's something that you particularly want to work on, then it can be useful just to know that you can go in with something super specific and it's all good. So yeah, this first one here is changing cerebral pathways, and my intention specifically was to help me remove negative thought patterns in my brain. And you can read a little bit more in detail about how that happened for me in ceremony. More or less, I was shown visions which helped me to sort of reframe some of the incidents which caused me to have negative thought patterns. So yeah, I'll link to some of the articles that I wrote, some of the trip reports that give a lot more detail on that if you want to read about exactly how that happened. Next of all was investigating other people's problems and helping them. So my intention in my third ever ceremony, which is you can read here, was to investigate what I saw in my second ever ceremony. So in my third ceremony, I was investigating what happened in my second ceremony. In my second ceremony, I saw a vision of someone who was close to me, and they had like an evil spirit attached to them. And in my third ceremony, I wanted to go and figure out what that was and try and get rid of it. And yeah, more or less, I was able to do that. And in the ceremony, at least, I had an experience where I felt like I was helping that person to sort of recover from the effects of that evil spirit. So yeah, that was one of the intentions that I had. The other one was being able to focus more on tasks. I felt like I was a little bit sort of scatterbrained, as I call it. Sometimes I would want to sort of stop doing one thing because I got enamored with another project or task, and I wouldn't finish the first one, so I needed some help. I'm trying to figure that out. And yeah, a little bit like the first intention I had about negative pathways. ayahuasca in a ceremony showed me like a vision or a hallucination about how I could focus better on tasks, and that is something that I use today in order to try and help me to do that. The other thing, fourth one there was low back issues. I've actually got a spinal injury. It's a disc injury, which is pretty severe. I still have sort of like numbness from that, even though it happened several years ago. So yeah, it was pretty severe back injury. And during the ceremonies, I wanted to sort of focus on that a little bit and see if there's anything that ayahuasca could do for that. And while she wasn't able to fix it completely, I guess I never really expected that. She was able to sort of reduce the pain and intensity of the pain to a large degree. So it's not completely gone, but it was made better by ayahuasca. And yeah, I will link to how exactly that happened down below in the description, so you can read exactly how those sort of ceremonies went to do it my back. And then yeah, so again, I just to summarize, there are four of my super specific intentions, um, and I was running through that in order to let you know that if you have super specific things that you want to focus on, you are more than able to do so in your ayahuasca ceremony. It's no problem. Um, the other thing that I want to move on to is, if you don't have an idea of what you want to be your intention or what you want to work on, then I'm suggesting here a couple of different ways to figure that out. The first way is meditation. The second is some form of counseling. So whether or not that is with a paid professional or someone who's close to you, either way, the aim there is to focus on yourself by one of those two methods and see what comes up for you. See what issues come up, and basically these recurring issues that come up um, might be things that you want to create intentions out of, and yeah, I think this is probably best done in a period of like weeks or months before your ceremonies. So ideally, if you're planning this out in advance quite a lot, then this is something that you'd have more than enough time to do. And if you wanted to learn a little bit more about this information, this concept of meditation or counseling in order to discover um, intentions, then you could check out a book called Interpaths to Outer Space by Rick Strassman et al. He was helped out by a few other authors on that one. The names of those authors are escaping me at the moment, but Rick Strassman was one of them. And in that, he's talking about how you can prepare for a psychedelic experience. And he's suggesting that meditation or psychotherapy could be one way that you could help identify the issues that will potentially come up for you. So yeah, I'm just sort of doctoring that a little bit and saying that it's a good way to figure out what things you might want to create intentions out of and therefore work on in your ceremony. And the last point I want to talk about is what advice I would give to someone who doesn't have anything specific that they want to work on and hasn't done, or maybe doesn't have the time to do the psychotherapy or the meditation in order to sort of discover the things that they want to work on. So one of the things that has been useful for me, and I've done this in I think about 5 ceremonies, is just to have a really general intention of show me what I want. Show me what I need to know. You can see that highlighted there. And the reason why I think this one's good is because you can very sort of easily guide a ceremony. In my experience, you can very easily guide a ceremony with this intention, and you're sort of just being very open-minded and letting Mother Ayahuasca um, teach you the things that she thinks you need to know. And so if you can bring yourself to sort of be that open-minded and trust Mother Ayahuasca enough to do that, then I think that's a really good way to sort of have a generic catch-all sort of intention when you don't have anything specific that you want to work on. And in my experience of doing that, sometimes she was working on things that I previously worked on, like my back or family history sort of things. And then other times she was doing things which were um, things that I probably wouldn't have thought to even ask or thought to even or like I didn't even know that they were things that I could sort of do. And but specifically by those things I mean experience of experiences of ego dissolution. Um, in a couple ceremonies, she, sort of showed me various visions and hallucinations, which were sort of ego dissolving experiences. And sort of those led to sort of messages of, like we're all one, we're all inclusive and stuff like that. And to be honest, I think, I mean, those are really good, but I think those are very common um, experiences for psychedelic users is to have experiences of ego dissolution and feelings of sort of we are all one. um, yeah, so there you go. If you don't have anything specific that you want to work on, then you can just go with show me what I need to know. And yeah, quite often that is an ego dissolution experience, at least in my experience. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys, and catch you in the next one.